All right, everyone, here we are. This is Keith Giles, 11 Productions Racing at the Tour de Hernando Crit. This is the Masters Men 45 and 35 plus combined field. Um, Super hot day in northern Mississippi. It was a great race. We did the road race the day before, and I might have a video coming from that. And here we go with a bigger field than we had at the road race, probably close to 20 people in it at the start. Beautiful course, really fast and open. This right after the first turn here, we come into a slight grade. It's not even, as you can see in the upper right, it's not even 1% at the very beginning of it, but there was also a pretty nasty headwind right there. So this section definitely took some effort. It hits about 1% at the very top, and so yeah, so here we go. And for my sake, this is the first year that I've been racing these 35, 45 plus open category races that are filled with a lot of Cat 1s, and they're still fast. They're my age, and they make me feel about 65 instead of 47 because they are fast. And they're also very smart and very tactical. And so to that point in this race, we had the big team was Max Besendorf, I think it's pronounced. I think they're the local Memphis team. This race was basically in Greater Memphis, and they did a great job of dominating the race and staying at the front and sending guys up the road. Unfortunately, in this video, you're not going to see too much of that because I spent a lot of the day buried just trying to hang on. That's kind of my goal here, right? I just want to finish with the field, and I don't have any designs on trying to break away or control this race. These guys are just too strong, and I'm just not there yet. So here we go into the first turn again and start at lap 2. You can see there was a little jerk there by the guy in number 141. And what was kind of weird, the course was very safe as crit courses go. And I really, like I said, I really enjoyed it. This was probably the most fun crit I've ever done. There was a ton of little road reflectors. You can see them kind of along the middle, along the white line, and then there's the double yellow ones to the left right here. And usually they don't even enter into my thinking, but you had to there were so many of them that you had to really navigate them on the turns, and not so much this one, but the first turn. So you can see you have to go through the double yellow there on that turn, and again going into turn 1. And if I roll over one of those things going straight, I'm not really worried about it. I would just roll it and not even think about it. But if you hit one of them at just the right angle, they could be bad. And you really had to watch out for them going into each turn. So the first few turns in this crit, I was paying very close attention to them and trying to find lines that I could take that were fast, but also not going to run me over one of those reflectors. Okay, so here we have probably what would be the first little ease, and then followed immediately by an attack. And that's just what this race was. I mean, that you don't even need to see the whole thing to know this race was people attacking, and then there being a counterattack, and then after a few minutes, an easing once the counterattack kind of didn't get away. It was fast. It was a very fast race. The pack averaged over 26 miles an hour. And considering the headwind we had on this little section here, it was I can't. That's the fastest crit I've ever been a part of by a lot. I think before this I did a road race that averaged 24, which was a flattish road race. So this is 2 solid miles an hour faster than that. This was a pretty common theme. A surge up the hill after the first turn, and then a sort of gentle easing, and then another surge into turn 3. It was really a 3-turn course. So I think everybody's still together. Here we are 5 minutes into the race. But there is somebody who's fading back there, you can see. And I think we might be getting ready to drop it for our first rider. One of the things about crits that just makes it so fun, because you get to use the whole road when it's wide like this, and you have these nice, really fast turns, is just how you can really use not just your straight ahead speed to generate separation. Like pretty much that's what has to happen in a road race, and basically you just have to accelerate. But you can also use the whole width of the road, and you saw that over and again where guys would be on the inside or the outside, and the counterattack would come from the opposite side of the road. I just think it looks so cool when you see that, and you see these trains all just like playing this kind of cat and mouse thing. Guys are constantly looking over their shoulder, and one thing I've learned in this sort of first season of Open Masters racing is that it's all about the counterattack way more than what you see. So when you race, most 4 or 5 races um, are fast, but there'll be somebody will just pick up. They're not nearly as hard to me. Somebody will pick up the pace, and everybody will follow, and it'll go, and the speed will stay kind of high. That's often how it goes. And if somebody throws down like a serious attack, there might be a couple in the race. Um, once that attack settles, so there goes a Max Bessendorf guy right up as soon as we search. Beautiful counter, and he's gone, at least for now. And nobody's really too motivated to chase. I at this point was thinking like, man, this is good for me. Like I really will, and look at the Bessendorf guys move to the front and kind of sit in. It's really kind of classic blocking strategy, but in a field like this with a road with such a smooth, fast course, you just can't block that easily. There's just too many motivated riders, and so they're going to let this guy go for a little while here. But obviously, this isn't going to. These guys didn't come all this way to sit and watch somebody ride off the front, so that's not going to last. And there goes someone and someone else, and that's not. So there you go, a non-Bessendorf rider chasing him down, and of course, once everybody once that chase group forms, everybody's right on the wheel and laying down some serious watts to try to bring them back. So as I was saying, the one thing that is different in this category from some of the other races I've done is how prevalent the counterattack is. People are just constantly waiting for attacks so they can counter them, and that's how it's very easy to get dropped. One of the first races I've done in this category, I attacked, and then I got countered, and I just had nothing left, and I just wasn't expecting the counter to be that intense. And when you watch this race, what I'm noticing is guys will actually do little attacks, and they're looking over their shoulder, and if everybody comes with them, like if there's no gap for them, they just kind of almost immediately slow up. If they have a gap, they'll keep going. But I feel like they're also so worried about a counter that they're looking to counter. I mean, it's really just a massive chess match played out at 26 miles an hour and threshold tempo, threshold wattage for everybody. So it's just fast. It's just a really fun race. I just wish I was a little stronger so I could be at the front playing chess instead of being in the back playing checkers. So this guy is brought back. Pretty sure that's him up the road getting ready to go into turn one. A valiant effort, and my guess is as soon as we catch him, there's going to be another counter. And there goes another guy up the road. One after another, just ping pong. This really is a classic example of how having a big team is really just look at that. I mean, just way over my threshold there. Just every lap, every single lap. Um, having a big team is such a huge advantage as long as you're just okay with somebody from your team winning. You know, you can just keep sending guys up the road, and the people on the other teams who want to win, who don't have teammates, have no choice but to follow it, and they just get slowly broken down over time. And meanwhile, your teammates are somewhat resting. I don't know who ultimately won this, giving away the ending a little bit. I wasn't close enough to see it, but and I have yet to see the results posted, but I'm pretty sure it was a Besendorf guy. I love how everybody was swerving at the front. I mean, people were trying so hard not to have their wheel sucked and then countered. So there's just constantly sliding in and out like that to try to generate space. It was just so fun. I mean, it really was really fun to be a part of it. But you can see this is what one thing that's interesting about this, a little physiological insight is, my heart rate right here is 161. So I can do entire rides and barely break 160. My max is probably 172. So, for me, my threshold heart rate, so my heart rate that I can hold for about 20 minutes typically is in the mid 150s. So for me to have my heart rate in the 160s, that's definitely a red. That's that should be red. The color code on that arc should be red, not green. Um, and so, but my power numbers were high, but they weren't as high as the road race from the previous day. And so, I just think the nature of the crit, there was just enough. There was a lot of short, intense bouts, and then followed by like 0 watts, kind of slightly going downhill, which I never really had any averages hit very high. It was just the repeated, intense efforts that really added up. But the other thing that's significant is hot. This race started at 9:15, and if you know anything about living in the South, 9 may sound like the morning to you, but it's already hot. I mean, here in Alabama, it's not even hitting today. It's hitting about the same. It's not even hitting the same level of high temperature that we had in Memphis on this day, and it's 9 as I'm doing this right now. It's about 9:30 in the morning. It's already so hot, and I've really started to feel it in this race. And so I think that's why you're seeing a high. My heart rate is what I'm getting at. Is my heart rate is probably higher than it should be for the effort I'm putting out. It's not an excuse. It was hot for everybody. Um, I didn't really feel like it was holding me back until later in the race, but of course, I was getting tired too. So I don't know that it would have mattered if it was 65 degrees out. I can hear my breath right there. uh, every now and then you can hear me mutter something like, some swear words. Uh, that's basically me on the limit. So we got two guys up the road. I miss that. It's constant attacking up at the front. So that's just going to happen periodically. We're still pretty early on in the race, so I'm pretty sure those guys do not stay away. I took a little more of an inside line on this one. I'm not sure why. And there it comes. These guys are still up there. I think they're going to get caught on this lap. There were some guys in this race who actually did 2 races the day before. So number 141, he raced both the Cat 123, the Pro 12, I think, and not it was just the Pro 12, and then he raced the 35, 45 plus with me. So he had over 100 miles of road race in incredibly hot weather. Yes, the day before this, and then again this race. So the fact that this dude's out there working his butt off, riding hard, is just amazing. I mean, I don't know many people that could manage that. Even finishing those 2 races the day before, never mind coming out the next day and racing in a super high intensity crit. Hard to get a sight on. What I need is a drone to follow over my head so I can really see the race. I think we brought the 2 riders that were up the road back. I don't see them, and everybody's kind of eased up, which is usually an indication that they got them. And whoever that guy is, he is definitely trying to get away. No, they're still up there. You know, there was the gap. There's a gap here that formed with our group, and I'll be honest, I was not upset with this. I was kind of like thinking, hey, if I can ride in with these guys, these guys are all pretty strong. We'll go fast. We probably won't get lapped, and you know, I can say that I had a pack finish, but of course, nobody's going to just let that happen. One thing that I always think about when I think about the surges and recoveries of a bike race and a crit in really in particular is, you know, how fast could I go by myself if I could just do it smooth. Now, 26. This was a 26-mile-an-hour race. I don't believe I can time trial at 26 miles an hour by myself. That's too fast. But there have been races that I've done that felt hard, and the overall speed was something that I know I can do solo, and and it not be that hard. And I've just kind of wondered, like, what if I just stayed off the back and just let them surge? They want to surge, let them surge. Don't follow the surge. Just give them some distance, time trial. If they surge ahead of you, that's fine. Just keep your pace, and you'll bring them right back. And for a guy like me who kind of is wired for time trialing efforts and not is wired for surges, you know, I might be able to do that and not just ignore the surges and just stay smooth and you know, and then save it for the very end. And that's the gamble there, of course, is you just never know how long the surge is going to last. So in this race, there's a guy who you'll see, you know, one of the Besendorf riders. He spends all his time on the back, and I get the feeling that he just didn't want to get mixed up in a big bunch sprint. And I think he's a really strong rider, because there's a lot. You can look in the rear camera and see it. There's a lot of times where he lets very big gaps form. And when I watch this back, course, in the race, I had no idea. But when I've watched this back and thought, that guy's so close to getting dropped. How did he not get dropped? Well, the answer is he would let a gap form and he would just close it. But I never really see it. Never really saw him struggle. So it's almost as if he knew that these guys were going to surge and rest and surge and rest and surge and rest. And you obviously have to be a little bit strong because he's basically doing 25, 26 miles an hour largely by himself, but he's not ever really surging. And he ended up not he ended up lasting longer than I did, and I surged more. Like here's an example right here where I felt the need to bridge up to this group for some stupid reason. I guess I felt bad because I was certainly fucking wheels quite a bit. And you also never know. You never know. Maybe this group gets away, and then you can have a decent finish. Like it's okay. Take what just happened right there. I surged to catch this group. There was absolutely no reason for me to do that. I mean, they when they got halfway up this stretch of the course, they slowed up. I mean, I could have just stayed. I could have stayed below my threshold, and I would have just caught them just a little bit later, which is I think a lot smarter. Again, I don't have a time machine, so hindsight's 2020. Looked like they were getting ready to put some serious distance. But if you were really paying attention, you'd notice that none of these attacks are lasting longer than a minute. They're all really intense and really short. It's still hard to fully figure out what's going on up the road. I know that there's people up there. I don't know how many, and I don't know what teams they're on. Um, if we're going to see him, we'll get a look at him when we come into this turn because it's the longest, straightest turn. It's also the one that's the slowest, so that's where the group tends to get a little bit closer in proximity. And there he goes. Max Bessendorf again. Classic counterattack. The group sped up about halfway up the little climb. Everybody sits up, and then somebody from the back goes. But it really is a testament to just how strong everybody is that so many guys can do this. It's not just one or two, and then so many guys can chase it back. This is an example of what I'm talking about. There's a guy and if you look in the rear camera, there's really two guys back there, and we've dropped a few at this point. But this guy, look at the gap there. You would think that he's done, but he does get a little bit lucky that the group just isn't really surging right here. But he's able to pretty easily bring it back, and that happens a lot. And I don't know if it's just because he got lucky and the group, like I said, the group eased up at the right time, and the group had just surged at that moment, he would have been gone. Or if he's just crazy strong, he's definitely strong. But if he's just strong enough to just pull it back whenever he wants, and he's just back there kind of enjoying the ride and not wanting to, get mixed up in a big bunch sprint, I don't really know. thought that was a nice turn that I took right there. This was a funny moment. I mean, I'm exhausted, and as soon as the Spezendorf guy attacked, there's a guy behind me. You can see he's like, we're talking right now, but he's like Bezendorf, go go go, and I'm like, I just slid over and was like, well, you're welcome to chase him. He said, well, don't you have how many teammates you got? And I said zero. He goes, oh, you had three yesterday. And I said, well, I'm alone today. Not to mention that, I mean, I'm in no position to be chasing down breaks right now. I'm just trying to stay with this group. He just laughed. I don't. It's just part of racing to like try to get people to do what you want them to do. But that may work in a Cat 5 race when you have young riders who are easily influenced. But nobody, this old group ain't falling for those tricks. People are going to going to do their race. It's amazing how challenging it is to know what's going on up the road in a ride like this. Even, I mean, it's not like I was that far in the back. I mean, I definitely had times when I was up at the front, but you know, the race was fast enough that it was getting strung out pretty routinely, and it was short enough where you really couldn't see up the road. It was easy to be kind of more than one turn ahead, and so I'm sure most of these guys knew more of what was going on, but um, it's just you're tired. You're just you're trying to hold a line. You're trying to you have to navigate the course. It's hard to keep in mind what was really happening up there, who's up there, how many guys. It's easy to forget. I would assume that the Max Bezendorf team wouldn't be firing up the road if there was already one of their own teammates up there. We're getting pretty close to where I'm toast here. I wanted no part of this little acceleration. But to be honest, I actually did play this one kind of well. I just didn't. I knew there was a lot of people back there, and I was like, I'm not chasing that. They can come around. This guy's trying to run me off the road. Not really. I think this might have. I don't remember. I think this might have sort of done me in. I got stuck at the front here for a while, longer than I wanted to be. My heart rate is really soaring. I can see that I was really fatigued here because I just wasn't making smart decisions. I mean, I should have been able to stay on 149's wheel when he came around and they swung wide, and I was just like so in the, you know, my brain was starting to not work right. I mean, look, 167, my heart rate is getting really high. It's getting pretty close to its max. It's hard watching this back, thinking like I was right there. But see, this is where I just got unlucky. Like just where in some other cases I saw guys were off the back, and right if the pack had surged at that very moment, they would have been done, and the pack just didn't. Um, Unfortunately, in my case, I feel like every time I needed the pack to ease up just a little bit longer, they surged. It's funny how you can also watch this back and see how you've been. It's like a boxing match. I didn't get knocked out in one punch here. It was little by little. I can see that the gaps that are forming every time their surges start to get bigger and bigger, and my reaction time gets slower and slower. It's clear that I'm just getting weakened. So this guy in front of me right now, 701, he actually got dropped and latched back on. You can see it in an earlier part of the video. So, I mean, I don't really care, but you really aren't supposed to do that. They just, I put up a fight to hold the wheel on this attack, and most of these laps they were easing up halfway up, but this time they just didn't. Yeah, and there they go. This is where this is what happened to me is what I was just talking about. Like I needed that extra second to catch my breath. I did it. They were eased up, and I was so close to getting back on. And then that guy in the upper right of the screen decided to attack, and it just broke me mentally. I was like, oh no. And right here, this is also really hard to watch. I'm so close to grabbing that guy's wheel. I mean, I'm only going 28 miles an hour here. It's hard watching this back, thinking just throw down a sprint right here and you catch him again. But I was obviously pretty exhausted. It's not like I'm not. I mean, I'm doing 350 watts to try to latch back on, so it's not like I'm not doing nothing. Uh, when I realized, I thought this guy was in the main field, but he had already been dropped. So when I realized that, at this point, I realized I'm done. I think I pretty much sit up pretty quick here. So that's the end of my day. It was fun. It was a really smooth crit. It was, everybody rode well. I mean, by well, I mean, sound and safe and really fun tactics watching everybody attack. I think it's given me a new appreciation for just how deep I can go. And, hopefully it carries over into future races, just the knowledge like, hey, you can go really deep and you have to go really deep here. And I think I've learned a lot about the counterattacks, just seeing just how intense how you have to hang on through the initial attack and then be prepared to counter it. And it's more a question of just being willing to suffer than it is about developing a ton more fitness. I mean, I think I'm obviously very close in terms of being able to hang with this group. I made it over 35 minutes, and I feel like I was right there. One couple little things could have gone differently, and I would have been able to stay with the field. for the last couple laps. It's again hard to watch, acknowledging that I made it with two laps to go is when I was sort of officially off the back. Um, but yeah, Masters 45 plus. It's no joke. These guys are fast. These guys are great. And even though things haven't gone as well as I wanted this season, kind of racing with these guys, it's also been. I think it's where I want to race. I mean, you know, I'll get better if I keep showing up at these races and I keep training with the idea of being more competitive in these races. And it's appropriate. I mean, they're my age, so there's no excuses. At this point in the ride, I'm just trying to make sure. I just don't want to get lapped. I didn't. I don't even think I came close to getting lapped, but that was kind of my main concern. But anyways, the rest of this is just boring me soloing around this course. So there's nothing really watching anymore, and I'm going to sign off. Till next time.